Pookie's making all that noise up there.
Hey, everybody. Here we are back again. It's Sunday. Hopefully, oh, you're doing it again. Every single time.
Turn the volume off.
Every single time.
All right.
I just said before I hit the button, I was just going to say, it's like, are you ready? Like, turn the fucking volume off. If you hear like little noises in the background, that's Pookie.
Pookie tearing shit up.
She's back there tearing something up. I don't know what it is.
Good. See, people are showing up.
Hey.
Got Bee's Nest. Got Side Quest. Got 6 of them online right now.
Yeah, hey, everybody. I got 11, yeah.
11? Okay.
Yeah.
They're all starting to filter in.
Hey, what's up, you guys?
Today we're going to be talking about the new Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix.
What I didn't realize, because they put 6 episodes of it up, well, they're going to have 6 more. They're just going to, I don't think they're going to put them up until September, maybe, or like later on in the year. So they actually are going to have like a 12 episode series.
They're just going to release it in 2 batches.
But they're releasing it in 2 batches. Apparently, that's what I heard. Yeah.
All right. So first off, if you grew up on Unsolved Mysteries, you're going to remember that damn theme song.
That's an iconic.
And it's got that same theme song.
Yeah.
It is a slightly different take on it. It doesn't seem quite as intense. It seems a little bit chilled out, but it is that theme song.
Yeah.
And they didn't, and we were wondering, who the fuck are they going to replace Robert Stack with? Man, everybody's showing up. Look at everybody. Everybody. So I was kind of stressing about it. I was like, man, who are they going to replace Robert Stack with? Well, guess what? They didn't replace him with anybody.
Yeah.
Robert Stack's in it, but only in the fucking opening scene you see a picture, like a silhouette of Robert Stack's face. And then there's no host at all.
And no reenactments.
No reenactments.
Which I was reading an interview with the producers of the show. And this actually has one of the same producers as Stranger Things, interestingly. And they got like the people that were behind the original Unsolved Mystery in 1987. So they were behind it as well. And they said, we had a huge discussion about if we were going to have a host or not. And then they said pretty much the same thing. They said there's no way that anyone could fill Robert Stack's shoes. He's so iconic and so, related to the show that we didn't want to, kind of like, they didn't want to have to like replace him because they thought it would just be better to kind of bring things more up into like a more contemporary, like true crime kind of series. And also they kind of got rid of they do like a little bit of reenactment. Because remember, I think a lot of people really liked the reenactments, like from the original show, just because some of them were kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
But I think they decided they just do them kind of like, not so much a reenactment as like, they're saying something happening, but they'll just show like,
a scene,
like a scene, but they're, no one's talking or anything like that, which I think was kind of the better way to do it.
Out of the 6 of them that they have up there now, 5 were kind of like true crime, missing person type deal. And then one of them, to make the 6th one, is a UFO case. And I liked that one. I liked the UFO case.
It was very interesting. Yeah, it was a crazy story.
It was a crazy. I think maybe it happened. It's hard to tell. It wasn't quite as exciting as the Upon case that they did back in the day. That was a really good episode. Some of the Flying Triangle ones, they were really good. But so far, I'm pleased with what they did with it. I think not having a Robert Stack or a host in it, I think was the right way to go. I think getting rid of the older format with the reenactments, I think that was also the right way to go. And just the edit, I think, is a lot more modern. You see, the old original Unsolved Mysteries, a lot of that was filler. And it repeated itself, kind of. You know what I mean? Like for breaks and shit like that, for commercial breaks, or they'd backtrack and show something again sometimes. Some of the episodes, it did feel like they were kind of trying to stretch it out because there wasn't very much material in it. And so far, that's not really the case with this one. There's a lot of meat and potatoes to these cases.
Well, it's interesting, too, because I feel like the original series, they usually had at least 2 cases like on each episode, because the episodes were like, 48 minutes or whatever. They were like an hour with commercials, and they would do between like 2 and 4 cases like on each show. So they didn't really have a lot of time to go that in depth on each case.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that they did kind of like repeat things. And like you said, that happened a lot with all TV shows like back in the day when people watched them on broadcast TV. It's like they would have to remind you, like when you get back from the commercials, they'd like remind you. I guess it was people that were tuning in like in the middle of it, like we're flipping through.
It was just a format of the times too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like I said, all the shows were kind of like that.
And people kind of were trained to watch TV that way. But if you go back and watch them on YouTube, because some of those cases are up there. I think they took a lot of them down, but they used to be up there. You'd watch those old episodes. They were kind of harder to watch. They're kind of hard to watch by today's standards.
Yeah.
They meandered a little bit. Kind of, you know what I mean? It's just there's like a real strong formula behind them.
Yeah.
And it would get kind of annoying, But
I think what ended up happening with Unsolved Mysteries is so many people were posting them and stepping on the copyright. Yeah. So I think what initially, I'm not sure, but I think what they ended up doing was just opening their own YouTube channel, the official like Unsolved Mysteries, so they could put, and they have like X amount of, episodes up there. Yeah. They might have them. I think they have some of them on Tubi as well.
Bee's Nest. I saw him just say that, man, he wished that they'd bring back on In Search Of.
See, that would be cool
That'd
too.
Be pretty cool too. Yeah.
Now the thing about, and like I said, I was reading an interview with the producers of Unsolved Mysteries, and they were saying that they definitely wanted to do some of the more like quote unquote paranormal stuff, because that was kind of such a big aspect of the original show. But they said some of the stuff that they used to have on the original show, like especially like lost loves or people looking for like their lost relatives and stuff, they're like, in this day and age, like where everybody has social media and everything, you can't really do that anymore, because it's so much easier, just to go through ancestry.com or, find them on Facebook or something like that. It's
they
like
have services that can find anybody.
It's much easier to find people nowadays. You don't really like need a TV show to do it.
Right.
So it does seem like they're concentrating more on mysterious disappearances, mysterious murders. And they did do one UFO case. And I kind of I do like that they just focus on one case per episode, which I guess some people could argue makes it like more of a generic true crime documentary style show, because Dateline does the same thing and, all that other kind of stuff. And maybe it's not as distinctive, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't know.
They were pretty good cases.
Yeah, they were really good cases. And I think they really, I think it was really good that they had the time to go in depth and like all this different stuff. And
storm.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's Florida.
Yeah.
Summer in Florida. It happens pretty much every day. But yeah, so we could talk a little bit about some of the cases. The cool thing about this too is that they have the website, unsolved.com, which kind of, that was the whole point of the show from the very beginning, was like to get people to like help them like solve the mysteries and stuff. And even like the original run of the show, I think they ended up solving like 260 cases that they presented on there, which is actually pretty good.
And before we go on to the cases, let me say hi to everybody who's here. Glad people showed up. We got 21 here. Got Bee's Nest in here. SideQuest Heroes added us there. He's getting ready to go out and do some shit. Tammy, Melissa's back. Deborah's back. Beth.
And also I wanted to give another thank you to Logan again. I thanked him on the show last night too for sending me a PayPal donation. He sent me another PayPal donation today, this morning. So thank you very much, Logan. I wanted to make sure that I got that in there.
Oracle's in.
I know, I was kind of laughing. Oracle
is in. He's
back from our commercial break, and let us remind you of what we talked about 2 minutes ago. Yeah, exactly. I'm just kind of like, they still do it sometimes, because we've been watching like some of those Gordon Ramsay shows, like 24 Hours to Hell and Back. And I've been watching that on Tubi, where they don't have like a shit ton of commercials. It's like they just have one every now and then. But I've noticed that they still do that with like these TV shows, because, it'll be like, Gordon will be yelling at somebody, and then it'll be like, oh, here's where a commercial break would have gone. And then you come back and they just repeat the same thing over again. I'm like, we were all just here, man.
Connor Vatslan's in. He's brought the whole Jaguar army with him, fresh from TJ. And Con's in, and he's in classic TJ. He's in the 1970s Tijuana. He's not in modern Tijuana. You got that time traveler. He's a time traveler.
Okay.
And he said, "Child Island Man needs an episode." We need to do that. There's so much of that though. I think Child Island Man.
Well, I think Netflix just came out with it. I haven't watched it yet, but I think they just came out with a documentary about it.
It's going to be hard to compete with some of those high quality shows about the man that had the island and the children, and his girlfriend who just got arrested.
Yeah,
Child Island Woman. I don't want to name them because it might fuck up the algorithms and they come and they fucking pull the show. CIA jumps through my window, tries to silence me. Yeah. Though I'll tell you what, man, Weinstein. How am I going to call Weinstein? I'm going to say naughty movie man. That's what I'm going to call
naughty movie man.
Naughty movie man. He was in prison, but they let him out because of the COVID. So he got out. That's weird, huh?
Yeah.
You can rape some people, but because you're a naughty movie man and they don't want you to get sick, they'll let you out of jail. I wonder if they're going to put him back in.
Well, I would hope so. Why don't they just let him get COVID?
Because he's a naughty movie man with a bunch of money. He's one of
some people.
He was Child Island Man's friend.
Yeah.
So that's they know too much. They got power.
Yeah. So all right. So like I said, I'm not sure when the remaining 6 episodes of Unsolved Mysteries are going to go up, but the 6 that they have up there, in case you guys haven't seen them. Now, the first one, this one to me, like they were all interesting stories. This one to me seemed the most interesting because it just had like the weirdest little details, and I love I don't love it because it's tragic, but it's like I'm really interested in cases that have like these weird little details. So the first one was just called Mystery on the Rooftop, and now it was about this guy named Ray Rivera, who
hold on, Con. This is the guy that you were just posting about. You were asking us about Unsolved Mysteries. She's talking about that case. Rivera. His name is Rivera, right?
Yeah, Ray Rivera.
Ray Rivera. Yeah, he was found dead, like he jumped off a building, but it looks awful strange. And when he hit the roof, he went through the roof and ended up inside the fucking building.
It was horrifying.
He busted right through the fucking roof. It was
the Belvedere Hotel, the historic Belvedere Hotel, which I believe is condominiums now, and offices. But they showed it. It's in Baltimore, and they're kind of operating under the assumption. I think his death, they ruled it like undetermined.
I think it was an accident.
Well, I don't know. It just seems like, I don't know. Just there's so many weird details about it. Like, what the fuck was he doing up there? Yeah. It's like it seemed like there was somebody, like his wife was out of town or at work or something like that, and apparently they had a house guest staying there. The house guest heard Ray Rivera get a phone call, and then he rushed out of the house. Like, like he was in a hurry. And then they didn't know where he was for a while. And then they found his car in the parking lot of the Belvedere, like near there, like, cause I guess he worked for a company that was near there. And then they found this hole in the roof, and they go in the room, which I think it was like a conference room or something like that. And they found him all like fucking broken and dead in there.
Yeah. And he'd been there for about a week or so, huh?
Yeah. He'd been there a while. They didn't know where he was. So it's like, so they're sitting there thinking, well, one, it seemed really weird. Like there was 3 possible places that he could have jumped from or been pushed or whatever. And I'm not really sure why he would have gone up there. I think the police were kind of operating under the assumption that it was a suicide, but I don't know. It just seemed like a really weird thing for him to be doing. And there was like all these little details, like, like I said, he had smashed through the roof. There was like a hole in the roof, and that's what alerted them to like where the body was. But he had like the shoes that he'd had on were like next to the hole, and his phone was next to the hole. Like nothing was broken. Like his glasses weren't broken, which you would think that they would be if he fell all that way.
Explanation for that though.
And no one saw him either. No one saw him come in the building. Nobody saw him falling past the window. Nobody saw anything, which I thought was also very weird.
Your terminal velocity when you fall, you build up enough speed, you end up traveling about 110 miles an hour. That's fast, but that's not all that fast. The human body's kind of mushy. You know what I'm talking about? If you had the phone in your back pocket and your glasses on your back pocket or in your front pocket and you hit on your back or something like that, chances are your body could protect the phone and the glasses.
Maybe.
during the
It just
impact.
seemed weird
If
though that it
on
was
the
all
opposite
like
side.
they were just outside the hole.
Well, when he hit, he probably bounced a little bit and it popped out
maybe
from the impact. But way physics all worked, he was going down, and then the glasses and the foam were going up, and it just kind of it wasn't a real violent trip for the glasses and the foam. I mean, they don't weigh much.
That's true.
I think that's what it was.
But to me, that wasn't the weirdest thing. Well, the weirdest thing to me was, who the fuck called him. They weren't actually sure who it was. They knew that it came from his workplace, but they didn't know whose phone it was because it went through the switchboard.
Yeah.
So there was another weird thing too, that they found this little piece of paper like taped to the back of his computer. And it was this really weird, like it had all this Freemason shit on it and like shit about Stanley Kubrick and all this other stuff. Now, I don't like that details to me seems really weird. Although I will say that he was a screenwriter. So, I mean, if I died unexpectedly and people started going through like my notes and stuff like that, there'd be all kind of weird shit in there that like people that, like ideas for stories or like ideas for games or something like that. So it might have just been that. It does seem really weird that it was taped to the back of his computer. Like it was significant. It wasn't a suicide note or nothing like that. It was just this weird rambling.
There's a lot of weird stuff in it. We probably shouldn't spoil it because I don't think everybody's seen it. You know what I mean, so you want to give them a chance to watch it, but it is good. I don't think it was murder.
Although it is weird, the one guy that he worked with won't talk to anybody. That does seem weird. I'm not saying I think he was murdered. I'm just saying
I think it was some kind of an accident.
There's just like a lot of really weird details. Like
he went out on a ledge for some reason. I think he was out on that big ledge.
Maybe.
And
I said, what was he doing out there?
I don't know.
It just that's to me the weirdest thing.
It was something that made sense at the time.
I guess.
Maybe he was trying to look in through somebody's window. So he went out on the ledge to look in through the window to see if somebody was in there.
I don't need to look in anybody's window that bad.
Like that.
Like fucking I mean, this is a tall building. And it's just like, I don't know, it was creeping me out.
He went out on a ledge to go get something. Something was blowing or something blew out or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it just seems very, very
it wasn't suicide. I don't think he had a reason to kill himself.
He didn't seem to. I mean, he had just married. He didn't no one said he was upset or stressed out about anything. I don't know. It just seemed really odd. It was it was almost not quite as weird, but it was almost like the fucking that Elisa Lam shit where they found her up on the roof in the fucking in the water tank. It was a little bit like that. Not quite as weird.
Yeah, I saw how she was acting though, man. She was fucking whacked out on drugs.
Probably. Yeah.
They're talking about she had a psychic break. No, it's called fucking LSD. Real powerful LSD. And I think she jumped down in there to get to swim or something. And then once she got in there, she realized that there was no way out, no way back out of that damn water tower. Yeah,
because when people are fucked up on things, even alcohol or various other drugs, so sometimes stupid things seem like a good idea at the time, and then later on when you're sober, you're like, "What the fuck was I thinking?"
Yeah, I think she went down there. I think she went down there on her own.
But yeah, so I don't know, but that one to me was. I think that was the most interesting just because there were so many weird little details. And plus I'm really, really scared of heights. And so all the shots of the Belvedere Hotel was stressing me out, which, could scare me. So the second one is called 13 Minutes. And that was one where there was a woman named Patrice Black, right? And she worked at a salon and she had a client and, she cut their hair or whatever, and then they left. And then in a 13-minute window, she went missing. And nobody saw anything particularly weird, except that her car was parked in the front of the place instead of on the side where she usually parked it. Because everybody knew her in this town and everything, because she was kind of a well-known hair salon. She ran a well-known hair salon. So she just disappeared. And then they found her body 6 days later, something like that. Or actually maybe it was a longer time than that. But yeah, they eventually did find her body 6 miles away from the salon. And they're not entirely sure. It didn't seem like nothing was disturbed in the salon. The cash register was open and I think the cash was gone, but her purse was still there. And all of her other shit was still there. So it seemed like somebody just walked in and forced her out somehow, but they can't figure out who it was. And can I just say that one of the people that they talked to a lot on this particular episode was Patrice's son, because he was a kid. I think he was in junior high or high school when his mom disappeared. And his name is Pistol Black. I was like, is that like the coolest fucking name ever? And I was like, man, I wish that was my name.
Yeah,
but
that one goes through. There's like several guys that could have done it, serial killers.
Yeah.
That could have done it.
Or it might have been.
But some of them got eliminated.
Yeah, so they did kind of go into that. So that was a very standard. It was just very weird because it was like the middle of the day. It was like lunchtime or something, right? And there was like a really short window for it to have happened. So I don't know if it was just some random person that drove by or if it was someone that knew her or something like that. It was just really, really weird. That happened in Cumming, Georgia, I think in 2004. 20 months later, her body wasn't found for 20 months. So
yeah, she'd been out there.
So she'd been out there for a really long time. Now the third episode, this was actually the only case that I had heard of prior to seeing it on this show. It's called House of Terror. And that's the one about, Count, Ligonnez. Is that who it was a French family. And, the whole family, including their dogs, disappeared. And then somebody sent letters to like their friends and family saying that they were going undercover to work in the United States for the DEA or something. But then like the cops kept going to their house because the family's like, that sounds like bullshit. That doesn't sound like something they would do. It was like it was a man and woman, and they were, they were quite wealthy. They were like nobility or whatever. And they had 4 kids who were mostly grown. I think there was one that was kind of a teenager. But so the cops kept going and they didn't find anything and they didn't find anything. And then finally, like the 6th time the cops went, they're like, okay, this is like getting crazy now. And then they found the bodies. It was like underneath the terrace, like in all these fucking, even the dogs were down there. But the only dude that was missing was the dad, Count Ligonnez. So they're operating under the assumption that he killed his entire family and their dogs.
Yeah.
Jerk. For some reason. And then took off. But the mystery being, did he kill them? And if he did, where the fuck is he now? Because they have no idea where he is. There's
been some guys that did that in the past, killed their whole family and disappear.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that he loved his family and shit, and that he lost his job, so he couldn't support them, so he killed them. That's some weird shit.
I kind of feel like this might be something like that because he didn't seem to like the way he killed them. Like he wrapped up their bodies very carefully. Like he gave them, like they were Catholics, so he put little religious symbols on there. So it's almost
that same shit.
Yeah, like it wasn't out of anger almost. It was just this weird, I can no longer support my family. I don't know if that's what it was, but it did seem like that. It didn't seem like he just like raged out and like fucking killed everybody because, I hate you all or anything like that.
Yeah, there was another guy that did that here back in the, I think, the 80s. He had a teenage daughter and a son and everything, and they came home from school and he killed him. He had already killed the mom, and he hid everything and then started a whole new life. They eventually caught him.
Yeah. And
he said, well, I just couldn't, I couldn't support him. I couldn't do my duty as a father and a husband anymore. So I it's
like, don't you think it would have been nice to give your wife the option if she had wanted to, like, you know what I mean? Seems a little
it's always a kind
self-centered.
It's always a kind of situation where the dude is like real fucking uptight and really stuck in his ways, and he's real traditionalist. It's almost like something that would happen like in Japan.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of ritual. And
that's so bizarre
because they feel like they failed. They have to save them the dishonor of being poor.
Yeah.
That's kind of,
I get it. That's fucked up, but I get it.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying it's good.
But I think really what a lot of it is that they don't want to look like a failure in front of the family.
Yeah, that too.
So he kills the family too.
Yeah.
They don't know of his failure. That's a control freak there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
You can't get the family together. Look, man, I lost my job. We can't pay for this shit. We all have to go to work and come up with the bills. No. He's like, I'm going to be the sole breadwinner. That's
messed up.
That's what it is.
I mean, that is some misguided shit right there.
That's what they call toxic masculinity.
It is. That is an aspect of it because you're essentially taking, your family's choice away.
Yeah.
It's like, why don't you give them the option? Maybe your wife would have got a job. Maybe
because I'll tell you why. The only kind of dude that does that is damn borderline fucking autistic or something. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I mean, a
normal dude doesn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Tammy says, I can live with the embarrassment of being poor. Me too.
Yeah.
I have my whole entire life.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed of it at all.
That's what it is. It's just that, it hasn't happened many times. It's a certain kind of guy.
It seems like a very
very
specific type of mental illness or something like that would make somebody do that.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if
Probably
that's
has a lot to do with upbringing.
Yeah.
You don't see it as much as you used to.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's like I'm not sure if that was the situation in this case, but it definitely does sound like that.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're pretty sure that that's what happened. I mean, because they never found his body, and I think they even had some like CCTV footage of somebody that looked like him, like leaving somewhere or being someplace. But that was like the last time they ever saw him. So I'm assuming that he just killed all of them and buried them under the terrace. And I'm assuming that he sent the letters to the family. Like,
so that was story 3.
Time. That was the third one.
3, yeah.
Then the fourth one was called No Ride Home. This was a really sad one. This was about a guy named Alonzo Brooks. And he ended up going to this party with a bunch of friends of his. Yeah. And it was like in a neighboring town. It was somewhere like in bumfuck Kansas or something like that. And he didn't really know anybody at the party. It was at kind of this rural area. And, some wires got crossed somewhere where this friend thought that he was getting a ride home with the other friend. And that friend thought he got a ride home with the other friend. I think it was like 3 guys he was there with or whatever. And he ended up not coming home, and he was missing for quite a while. And this was messed up too. Like the cops went out there looking for his body because they had presumed at this point, because his friends went back to the house the next day and no one was there, but they found like his shoes and his hat, like just kind of like as though someone had like tossed him out of a car or something. And like they looked around and didn't find anything. The cops start looking, they didn't find anything. And then finally, like a month or 2 later, the cops told the family that they could go look, and they found his body like immediately. Yeah. They said it was within half an hour. Like it was really close to the house. Yeah. And they just found him like in this ditch or whatever, like he was dead. Yeah.
And they're not really sure what happened. There's a bunch of theories about what happened. I think he got into a fight at the party that killed him.
It did seem like, and that's the thing. They're kind of investigating.
And they hit it.
The police are operating under the assumption that maybe this might have been a hate crime because he was the only black guy at the party. Yeah. And some of the other people at the party said that there were some like racial slurs being thrown around, and
white dudes brought him there, and they said
they were friends of his, and it was like a different town, and he didn't know anybody at the party.
And some of them dudes in there were fucking with him. But what I don't understand is that they left him there. He said, I guess he said he wanted to stay. They went with him. He was an hour away. I wouldn't have left him in there.
I think what happened, because they had his friends on there and they were like super, busted up about it, obviously, because they thought, the one guy thought that the other friend was giving him a ride home, and that guy thought that guy was giving him a ride. So like I said, it was some kind of, they just accidentally like left him there, and it was like an hour away from their house. Right. So they like went home like thinking that the other person had driven him home. So they were like really alarmed, like when he wasn't at home the next day. So yeah, I think what might have ended up happening there, I was kind of curious about why the cops supposedly like searched around this house and everything like that and didn't find the body until the family went there, because his brother came on and said, look, the cops have been out there for 2 months. They said they did 6 searches, I think, of the area and didn't find it. It's like, we were there for half an hour and found him.
Yeah, I found him right away.
And he was just laying, wasn't buried or nothing. He was just laying there.
Some people thought that maybe he was put out there after the cops ended the search, but I don't believe so.
I believe it's more a case of like the cops didn't search as stringent, because like I said, the body wasn't buried. They showed a photo.
I don't think the cops thought he was there, and I don't think they thought he was dead.
Maybe.
I don't think they just did a half-ass search.
Yeah, that's definitely what I think. I don't think the body was dumped there later, because that seems like it would just be too much trouble. Yeah. I definitely think that it was just because the cops didn't really give a shit, or they didn't really look all that well. So there was that whole thing too.
I don't think they thought he was dead.
Maybe not. Maybe they probably thought he just took off. Yeah. Because he's a 23-year-old guy. He probably just like wandered off and got mad, because that's what they always say. Yeah. Which I guess I can understand that, because yes, it does happen, but I don't know. Like his family were like really upset, and they were like telling the cops, look, he wouldn't do that. It's like, so the 5th episode, which was your favorite one, got your UFO episode.
Oh, I thought that was episode 6.
No, no, there was one after that.
Yeah, this I thought was the best one.
This one was fun, actually. Yeah, it was a weird fucking case.
Yeah, it's about all these fucking misfits out in fucking. It was in New York or New Hampshire,
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, that's right. All these misfits at different ages, they're all kids, and they all fucking see a damn UFO. Some of them are teenagers and shit. And they don't know each other until they get into the UFO. And they see each other in the UFO, and then they don't remember what happened. But then later on, when they were going back to school over time, because it was a small town, they would run into each other, and they knew they were all, hey, you were in the UFO.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty cool fucking story.
It's just weird. It happened in 1969.
Yeah.
And
a lot of weird stuff happened in the case.
Yeah, there's not like one of the things that they were talking about on there was that there wasn't like any physical evidence of it. It was just like these people that had seen it. And I think we talked about it a little bit on the show last night where we were talking about there was some abduction shit going on too. Although none of the people that said that they had been abducted, they didn't really like come up with any crazy story about like seeing aliens or
they couldn't remember much about it.
They said they didn't really remember. They said they just kind of woke up like in a room, like saw other people there, like other kids or whatever. And then they lost like 3 hours of time or like, woke up and they were like a mile away from where they had been or something like that. And I think we mentioned before, like the mom and the grandma like switching places, like in the car, like, and they had lost 3 hours too.
In one part of these two kind of teenage girls, they're in their late teens, they were driving down the road, and they saw a light up in the horizon. They thought it was an accident with a bunch of cop cars because it was a big bright light, and there was some like colored lights there. But when she got up to it, it was so bright she couldn't see it. It was just this huge bright object, and they got out and looked at it, and she said it was just this big fucking disc, and then it took off. I don't think it abducted her, did it?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah.
Because I think the ones that got abducted, I think were kids at the time.
Yeah.
Like that's so
a lot of people saw it in different locations, all in that same time period. And they were talking about it on the radio, but they didn't save any of the tapes from the time.
Yeah, because like I said, that wasn't something that they did.
Some people that were in the police or associated with the police back in those days remembered when it happened, but they didn't believe it.
Yeah.
So they didn't record it.
Yeah,
I think remember that it happened.
I think they thought people were like fucking with them or like playing a prank or something.
But a lot of people evidently saw it in the town.
Yeah.
And some people claimed that they were in the fucking ship, mostly little kids, that they were in the ship and saw each other there.
Yeah.
And they didn't know who they were. They didn't recognize each other until later.
Yeah.
Which is pretty weird. They'd see each other at school.
Yeah.
You were in the ship. And that kind of shit.
You were in the ship.
But one girl remembered she just saw the other kids there, and then they would just wink out. They would just leave.
Yeah.
And then another one would leave.
So the aliens.
And then all of a sudden, then she woke up, and she woke up and she was out in a field or something near her house.
Like I said, some of them like woke up like a significant distance away from where they last remembered they had been.
I thought it was an interesting story.
It was, yeah. I don't know how much of it is true, but it was a good story and it made a good episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was like kind of creepy and kind of fun,
But other than that, that's what's out now, and supposedly there's 5 or 6 more.
Well, there was one more episode after the UFO one.
Oh, there was?
Yeah, remember it was the one about it's called Missing Witness, and it was the one about Lena Chapin. And she grew up in like that horrible family with like her crazy mother.
Oh, yeah.
And the mother kept going like from man to man.
Yeah,
and
right.
We're suspecting, allegedly, that the mom killed the stepdad.
Yeah.
And this eldest daughter knew about it and helped dispose of the body. She was just a little kid. Or she was 12 or 13 or something like that. And she was like scared of her mom. And then later the daughter, Lena, disappeared. And the rest of the family are suspecting that their mom killed the daughter as well. And also killed the stepdad, whose name was Gary.
Man, that storm.
Yeah, holy crap.
Jeez.
But yeah, so that was like a messed up case. I'm watching that and all the twists and turns of this family. I'm like, holy crap. Talking about like some fucking dysfunctional family shit. And it's like, it must be really, I just could not imagine being a little kid and allegedly watching your mom shoot your stepdad like in the face or whatever she did. I think she shot him like in the stomach or whatever. And then like having to help your mom like clean up the thing. And then like all the other sisters like, and then the later sister like disappears, and then they're like the mom killed her too, maybe allegedly.
It kind of reminded me of that other case that they had.
That's fucked up.
But that crazy ass bitch that had those 3 daughters. Remember that? And they found she killed one of them to help the other 2. Put her in a cardboard box and set her on fire.
Oh shit! I don't remember that.
Yeah.
What case was that?
It was back in the 80s. And then she was making the daughters go to the fucking truck stops and fucking pimp themselves out.
Yikes.
Yeah, it was a fucking bad one.
Some people should not have children.
And well,
saying.
they didn't know what had happened. You know, the first time the cops knew anything about it, they just found a burned up girl's body.
Yeah.
In a cardboard box. It didn't destroy her either, but you know, they never ID'd her. Later on, this young woman came forward and said, "I'll tell you who did that. My mom did that." It's told her the whole story. And but I think the mom died.
That's terrifying.
I think she was either died or got sent to an institution or something. She's a fucking psycho.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. They were too. She was jealous that the daughters were thin or shapely, so she would force feed them a whole bunch of fucking Crisco and fucking what do you call it? Fucking macaroni and cheese and shit.
Oh no.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to look up that case now. That's like.
Did you guys remember that one?
That's horrifying.
Oh yeah,
I don't even.
She was supposed to be kind of like fucking one of the most evil women of all times. Actually, she was on a fucking series called History's Most Evil, I think, or Most Evil.
I remember that series.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
She was on there.
Shit,
she's one I'd fucking fuck up pretty bad if I met her.
I mean,
I'd fuck her up pretty bad.
That's terrible.
Yeah, she's evil.
God damn.
And the reason why she killed that daughter, the older daughter, is because she wanted to leave home, and she had already shot that daughter with a 25 fucking caliber pistol years before. And she said, "You're not going anywhere until I get that bullet out of you." She didn't want the fucking, and she cut that bullet out of her with a fucking kitchen knife and took it out. She ended up dying, I think she died of some kind of infection.
Like septicemia.
Yeah, after that, fucking, and then they dumped her body out there. And she used the other daughters to dump the body.
Holy fucking crap.
And yeah, and she had,
now I gotta look that shit up.
Yeah, I don't remember her name.
That's terrible. I mean, I'm sure I can Google through that shit. Yeah. Tammy asked if I finished.
Teresa Knorr.
Oh yeah, that
Teresa
sounds familiar.
Knorr. I think
that sounds familiar.
I think that might be the name.
Yeah, I've heard that name before. I just didn't
Yeah.
remember the details of the case.
There was more about it. I think she killed another one of the daughters, chained that daughter up, and fucking starved her to death or something.
Man, that's kind of like that fucking case that the girl next door was based on. Yeah. Like that woman that like kept those girls in the fucking basement and like let the neighborhood boys rape her and stuff.
Yeah, you were talking about that.
Yeah, that's messed. That happened in the 50s, I think, or the 60s.
There's something like that just happened a few weeks back. Remember that they found some kid nude, some guy. He's probably about 12, 13, 14, but they said he was so badly starved he looked like a child.
Yeah.
They found him running around fucking, I think no clothes on, and damn fucking chain around his neck. And he led him back to the house where he came from, and they had a big old fat woman and a fat dude living in there with all these starving children. They had chained up. Some of them had died from starvation, and they were.
That's right. I was reading
a couple weeks back.
It wasn't that long ago.
And there are two of them buried out in the backyard, and then they wouldn't say any more about it. Evidently, they had legal custody of those kids, but they weren't theirs. I don't know if they were foster children or
maybe they were fostering, and they didn't have any oversight.
Yeah, it's weird shit.
Because foster kids, they're supposed to like come and fucking check on them every now and then, but I guess no one was checking on them. Tammy asked me if I had finished watching Dark. I haven't. I was just, like I said, I was trying to, watch season 1 and 2 again before I watched season 3. So I'm still like only on season 1 still, but because like I said, it's such a complicated show, and it's like I really couldn't remember like everything that happened in it, and I didn't want to go into like season 3. But I'll try to do it like this week, and then maybe do like a review of it. So what else do we have to?
That's it. I'm just thinking about. I'm just thinking about, man. It's a good thing I can't get my hands on any of those people because because the way the apocalypse is going, man, it's going to be like a carnival like atmosphere when you catch people like that. You remember they used to catch serial killers back in the 1300s, and they'd have a whole carnival around torturing that dude to death.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's going to get to eventually. It's going to go back to that.
Yeah, everybody just stop.
I think it's going to go back to that.
Or you're going to get there.
Like a modern version of that.
They're going to grease you up and put you in the fucking
think of how much money
brass bowl.
Think of how much money you could make if you were like the cops or some kind of authority says, look, we got them. We've tried them, found them guilty. We're going to have a big old carnival. And you can sell tickets to that.
My grandma used to always say whenever they caught somebody that like a serial killer or somebody that did something really, really horrible and they got like convicted, she would always say they should tie him to a tree and just let everybody come by and slice off a piece.
Yeah.
That's what my grandma used to say.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me if history starts repeating itself again. It goes back to like the Dark Ages. America falls apart, becomes like the Dark Ages again, which is high tech though. High tech Dark Ages.
Dark Ages.
Yeah. Got electricity, computers, and fucking carnivals of fucking carnage and shit.
Carnival of Carnage.
Carnival of Carnage. Where they fucking take these bad motherfuckers and break them on the wheel or something. Like they did back in the old days. And then you buy tickets to it. They make fucking millions of dollars. Then they record it, sell fucking CDs and shit.
CDs? What century is
yeah,
this?
what's it? Yeah, what's it? You live stream.
You live stream.
You live stream that shit.
I was like, oh,
yeah, I forgot, man.
Your grandpa nature
I might as well start talking.
I
might as well start talking about fucking 8-track.
I know. That's what like
I'm gonna sell that shit 8-track. It's my dad.
Or Betamax.
Yeah, I had that. Where's my Betamax? My dad never had Betamax.
We had a Betamax for a little while.
Yeah.
We had a Betamax for a little while, and then we got a VHS after we realized we had both for a while, and then like after we realized that Betamax was kind of going down
that's
the
a
toilet.
fucking Guar cover. or Guar album's called Carnival of Carnage.
Oh, well, okay. I was gonna say that's got to be something. Yeah. I don't have that album. Who is Betamax?
Betamax was a fucking robot from Transformers.
Not really.
Yeah.
Do you seriously not know what
he
Betamax
was? A big pussy.
No.
The maximum beta.
Betamax was the precursor to VHS.
Yeah.
Now, if you say what's VHS, then I can't help you. It's like I know I'm old, but
Betamax was actually better than VHS.
The quality
was bigger
was better.
and it was better quality, but it just
the tapes were like more. They were like shorter but wider.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was a better image and everything.
It was.
But they made so many VHS players so quickly, and it just flooded the market. A lot of people around that same time. A lot of people don't know, but they had Laserdisc.
Yeah.
It was like DVD, but it was the size of a record album, and they had fucking superior quality. Fucking, it was almost HD. It was good, but it was so fucking expensive.
Yeah,
one of those laser discs was almost $100.
I worked in a record store in 1993, and we had like a little section of laser discs, and I think the whole time I worked there, I never saw a single person.
It's expensive.
I mean, they didn't have a huge, number of titles that you could pick from. And they were very expensive. I didn't know anybody who had Laserdisc. I didn't know anybody who had Laserdisc players. I don't even think I've ever watched a movie on Laserdisc.
It just priced itself out of the market. It didn't have to be that expensive. Did it? I don't think it did.
No, probably not. But like I said, when VHS first came out and when they first started releasing, because for a time when VHS came out, it was mostly just taping shit like off of TV and stuff like that.
You couldn't get a movie. You couldn't
get a movie. So like later when they started releasing commercial movies like on VHS, some of them were like hugely expensive. Yeah. I remember like in the late 80s or early 90s, whenever Rocky Horror Picture Show came out on VHS, it was $99.
Yes.
Legit.
I know. I remember
for the videotape.
Yeah. Star Wars was like $150.
Yeah, it was like a ridiculous amount. I remember going to fucking Media Play and I wanted to buy it. And I was like, whoa, okay, I don't have a fucking $100.
They thought that shit was precious, man. They thought that shit was precious. They didn't want you having a movie. They were threatened by that.
I feel like it went from like home taping and then porn, obviously, because porn was like an early adopter. But porn is like an early adopter of like pretty much every technology, every media technology. And then finally, like, they got into the thing of like making commercial movies.
We'd rent those fucking tapes from Blockbuster, man, and we thought those things were worth the fucking. They were expensive.
Yeah.
We treated them like they were expensive too.
Yeah.
Little did we know you could just fucking record that shit for $1.
Well, yeah.
It was just $1.
And like I said, later on, my dad got one of those VHS that had like the 2 decks.
Yeah.
And
so
we would
copy.
Yes, you could copy. Except for the ones that had Macrovision, but you could get workarounds for that.
And then a VHS player was like nearly $1,000.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember.
And then like it just seemed like one day they were only like $200.
Yeah.
And then like a few years later they were like $40.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
I know, and then it's like, even our broke asses, like eventually we had one in like each room, like everybody had their own.
I remember it got to the point to where, but as VHS was dying and being replaced with fucking DVD, a VHS player was like $20. They couldn't give them away. You see them down at the fucking dollar store.
Well, now
Fucking
if anybody even has
20
them
bucks.
anymore, they break and people just throw them out.
Gone away. Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? It's just like even like fucking, you know, big HD TVs and stuff like that. They're so cheap now that
Yeah, and a
you just
DVD
check
was
them out.
a DVD player was hundreds of dollars, and that's now like fucking $18, $20, worthless now.
Yeah.
Worthless.
Well, you know, like I said,
Shit changes.
the more, you know, the technology becomes ubiquitous, like the
Yeah.
cheaper it becomes.
Yep.
All right. So I guess
shut it down.
it's gonna storm probably. You know, I don't know if the power's gonna go out or whatever. And I gotta finish doing the laundry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will probably watch some more of Dark maybe tonight. And I also have to watch the next movie that we're doing a retrospective on, which I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm sure everyone will be very excited about. I'm very excited about doing it. It's been on my list for a long time. But yeah, so we will probably do another live stream tomorrow, movie review, sidetrack, something like that. Probably about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, depending on what else we're doing. So we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. And thanks for everybody for coming by.